I never thought I'd end up in court over a tree, let alone a 150-year-old oak that towered over my front yard like a quiet guardian. To me, it was history and shade and stubborn resilience. To my HOA's resident tyrant, Pamela Scott, it was an eyesore that dropped leaves and ruined her view of the cul-de-sac. For months, she hounded me with violation slips, speeches at meetings, and doorstep lectures. I refused. The oak was healthy, protected, and mine. I'm Ethan Marshall, and my family and I bought our place in Cedar Crest HOA on the edge of Riverton because the schools were great and the streets felt safe for bikes. I figured the HOA would be the usual noise about mailbox paint and trash day. Instead, I learned it was a stage, and Pamela loved being the star. Clipboard, neon cardigan, rules for everyone else. Her obsession fixed on the oak. My grandfather used to say settlers rested beneath it. 3 generations of neighborhood kids carved initials in its bark. When Pamela called it hazardous vegetation, I hired an arborist anyway. Healthy as a horse, he said. Didn't matter. The notices kept coming. Blocked sight lines. Leaf litter. Squirrels are an infestation. She rallied neighbors at block parties and petitioned City Hall. A police officer even humored her once, looked up, and shrugged. Tree's fine, ma'am. One evening, she jabbed a finger into my chest at the mailbox and hissed, "If you don't take care of that tree, don't be surprised when someone else does." I laughed it off. It was illegal to remove a protected tree without permits. Surely, even Pamela wouldn't. At dawn a few days later, a chainsaw sang me awake. I bolted outside barefoot. An old white pickup idled at the curb. Ropes piled in the bed. 3 guys, no logos, no cones, no safety gear, were already into my oak. One balanced on a wobbly ladder, while another fed a chainsaw through a massive limb. The foreman, cigarette stuck to his lip, barked, "Cut faster. Get off my property." I shouted, "This tree is protected. Where's your permit?" "Lady hired us," the ladder guy called. "Said it's hers." "Which lady?" "Me," said Pamela, appearing on her driveway like a general at sunrise. The board documented the hazard. "We're resolving a community safety issue." I started filming and dialed 911. The foreman looped a rope around the trunk and back to the pickup, trying to force the fall. No wedges, no spotter, no road closure, just arrogance and a revving engine. "Timber," the ladder guy crowed. Physics answered. The crown leaned, away from my house, straight toward Pamela's. The rope snapped like a gunshot. 50 feet of oak obeyed gravity and hubris, crushing her roof and caving a wall before coming to rest across her living room. Car alarm. Shattered windows. Then silence. Pamela screamed at me. "Your tree. Your liability. You'll pay for everything." "Officer," I said when the first cruiser rolled up, holding out my phone. "I've got video of unlicensed workers cutting a protected tree on my property without consent. The cut is on my lawn. No permit. Here's the property marker." The officer crouched by the stump, ran a finger through fresh sawdust, glanced at the snapped rope scars, then at Pamela. "Ma'am, do you have a city permit?" She hesitated. It was urgent. By noon, there was caution tape around the stump, tarps on her roof, and neighbors whispering in bathrobes. The city's arborist, Dr. Alice Green, arrived, touched the stump like a doctor taking a pulse, and said, "Healthy. Approximately 150 years. Removal required a permit and a licensed contractor." That should have been the end of the madness. It wasn't. 48 hours later, I was served. Pamela sued me for negligence, hotel costs, car damage, and emotional distress. My attorney, Marcus Bell, skimmed the complaint and said, "Classic intimidation suit. We'll answer and counter. We build a case the way you'd build a bridge, every bolt torqued." I compiled a master timeline, downloaded video and metadata, pulled HOA emails through member inspection rights, and requested city permit records. 0 permits. We subpoenaed the crew. The foreman, Roy Tanner, admitted Pamela paid cash, told them no city. Do it early, and pointed to my yard claiming it was hers. He warned her they needed a bucket truck and street closure. She refused. A consulting arborist assessed damages using the trunk formula. Method, species, diameter, condition, location, historic contribution. His 50-page report pegged the oak's value in the high 6 figures and recommended restoration and mitigation. Marcus filed our counterclaim, trespass, destruction of property, conversion, attorney's fees, and punitive damages. We quoted the very bylaw Pamela loved to fling at neighbors. Members shall not damage or alter landscaping on another's property without written consent and required permits. Deposition day. Pamela posed as a savior who protected the neighborhood. Then Marcus slid a time-stamped photo across the table. Pamela, arms crossed, directing the crew at 7:42 a.m. She stared, color draining. I don't recall. We also had her 911 statement. The tree just fell. Her complaint, he hired men to cut it. And Roy's texts, cash, no permits, do it before busybodies wake. Pick a lie and stick with it. In court, Marcus didn't grandstand. Your Honor, this case isn't about negligence. It's about trespass and willful destruction. The plaintiff hired unlicensed workers to cut a protected tree on land that wasn't hers and now wants the neighbor she targeted to pay for the damage she caused to her own home. Dr. Green testified first. Healthy tree, chainsaw pattern, no storm event. The crew followed and, under oath, admitted the cash job, lack of permits, and Pamela's instructions. I took the stand and walked the judge through the video. Cut plain on my lawn, property marker, Pamela posturing with her clipboard. When Pamela testified, she tried tears and ticking time bomb rhetoric, then cracked on cross when Marcus asked, "Did you obtain a permit?" "No." "Did you have written consent?" "No." "Is this you directing the work crew?" Photo, yes. The ruling was swift. The court found me not liable and found Pamela Scott liable for trespass and destruction of property. Judgment: $240,000 for the tree's appraised value, plus removal, restoration, attorney's fees, and punitive damages. Her insurance denied her claim. Intentional misconduct isn't covered, and the city's urban forestry office mailed a cherry on top. Because the oak was a heritage specimen, mitigation at a 6-to-1 ratio was required. 6 new trees, specified caliper and species, planted on Pamela's lot within 6 months and maintained for 3 years under inspection. The woman who cut down a protected tree to improve her view was ordered to plant a small forest. Meanwhile, Greg Whitman, our HOA president, showed up at my door with the posture of a man who'd just read his own bylaws for the first time. "We're rescinding those notices," he said, "and suspending Pamela from the architectural committee pending the outcome." Governance reforms followed. Emergency actions now require city coordination and a supermajority. Contacting contractors about someone else's property without written consent is grounds for immediate removal from any committee. In other words, the rules finally learned what the law already knew. We planted a white oak sapling where its ancestor once stood. My kids named it Second Chance and tied a green ribbon to the stake. When the check from Pamela arrived, reluctant, sometimes late, always penalized, nearly every dollar went to soil remediation, native understory, drip irrigation, and the consulting arborist's restoration plan. I sanded a thick cross-section of the old oak and set it on hairpin legs in my office. The rings are a map of patience. When paperwork gets loud, I trace a drought year, then a flush one, and remember the slow arithmetic of roots and time. The neighborhood exhaled. People waved again. Saturday cookouts returned. Folks asked where I bought mulch instead of where I hid my attorney. Even Pamela's husband started mowing in quiet, eyes softer, like a man who finally understood that rules without integrity are just noise. A nursery truck unloaded 2 oaks, 2 maples, a sweet gum, and a tulip poplar in Pamela's yard. Licensed crew. Permits taped to a window. My daughter waved and said, "Thanks for planting more shade." A letter from the Historical Society arrived later. Photos Dr. Green had shared led them to an 1890 diary entry. Camped beneath the great oak by the creek road. Good shade. They designated our spot a small heritage landscape. No plaque, no tax credit, just acknowledgement of what stood and what we'd lost. If you're waiting for me to say Pamela changed, I'd disappoint you. People like that rarely replace the engine. They just downshift the volume. She still files petty complaints, now carefully worded, and glares when my kids laugh too loud. Once, when a payment ran late and penalties kicked in, she muttered, "Enjoy your charity." I said, "Enjoy your forest," and went back to watering Second Chance. Here's what the oak taught me. Strength isn't loud. It's patient. Boundaries aren't rudeness. They're kindness with a spine. When someone tries to make their emergency your responsibility, you don't scream back. You document. You know your rights. You let the truth do the heavy lifting. And when justice arrives, you don't let bitterness take root. You plant something better. On a warm evening, I stood on the deck with Lauren and watched shadows from our sapling sketch across the lawn while 6 young trees swayed across the street. Will it ever be as big as the old one? My daughter asked. Maybe not in my lifetime, I said. But that's the thing about planting. You do it for people you'll never meet, and for the person you become while you wait. Case closed. Shade restored. And in Cedar Crest HOA, the loudest thing left is the wind through the leaves.